ist nichts.
Technology is nothing. It doesn't mean anything unless it serves the general public. It's a nice quote by our next speaker, and that's what we're all talking about it. Despite all the great things and the technologies, it's not what we can do for AI, but what can AI do for us. But we nevertheless have this constant change, which is challenging for us as individuals, but also for companies. They also have to change. And which brings us to the endless factory, what it means, how it's working, and why we might need that, or you might need this in your companies, will be explained by somebody really truly living technology. I'm looking forward to Nabil Bukhari, the Chief Technology and Product Officer at Extreme Networks. Welcome on stage, Nabil.
Good to have you here.
Hi there, good to have you here.
Have fun.
Thank you so much. All right, who's ready to practice their English? It's good to be here. I just flew in from the West Coast last night, so it is middle of the night for me, but we're going to have a great conversation here. So as I noticed, the last day or two that I've been here and talking to different people and then attending some of the sessions, it seems that there's one topic that is on the top of everybody's mind, and that obviously no guess is required there. That is the topic of artificial intelligence, AI. So we will talk about AI, but we'll talk about AI in a slightly different way. Because one thing that I want to tell you is that the best way to talk about AI is to not talk about AI. One of the biggest challenges that we are seeing out there in the industry is a huge amount of investment that has gone into AI, and yet a huge amount of confusion that has generated around AI as well. So in the next 20-something minutes, our goal is to have a conversation around AI and think about the following 3-4 things. Number one, why should you care? Just because your neighbor is doing AI, should you do AI as well? We don't know. So we should talk about why you should care. Second thing we should talk about is, once you do care, where should you start from? Should you start from the big, baddest large language model? Is that the right place to start? What is the right place to start? So that's the second conversation we'll have. And the third conversation would be that as you, a leader in your organization, if you are given a task to make a decision around AI investment, what are some of the things that you should care about? By the way, one thing I would tell you is that if you're not given a task to think about AI, then you should be pretty worried about that. So those are the 3 things we're going to talk about. So let's see if this thing moves forward. So first thing, why all of a sudden AI? Why is it that every conversation in the last 2-3 years is about AI? AI is nothing new. AI has been around for a long period of time, since the 50s. We have been working on it, we have been developing it. It has been progressing at a pretty fast pace. It has been in the systems behind the scene for 10, 20, 30 years. So why now? Why is it that, say, in 2020, 2021, the generative AI has taken everybody by a storm and a surprise? Why is it that today every conversation has to start with AI? It's not because of the technology. If you feel somebody would come up and talk about how it is the fastest growing technology out there, maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of other technologies that are growing pretty fast as well. Some people might come and say that, hey, this is a technology that probably has the maximum amount of impact on the future of humanity. Maybe, maybe not. There's a lot of other technologies out there that are very meaningful as well. So when we think about generative AI especially, the one thing that was unique about this technology is that your end user probably got access to it before you did. And I want you to think about that. This is perhaps the first time that it was not kept in the technology circles. It was not first created in some big product. It was not conferences like this where you and I talked about AI and then finally, slowly, we introduced it to the end market. No. With a bang, with ChatGPT, 100 million people in the first month were actively using it. They knew about this technology and perhaps experienced it before you did as a company, as a telco, as a leader that is creating a product out there. And that is something that is absolutely unique about this technology. And that is why it is difficult to deal with AI, because it cannot be tackled the same way other technologies were tackled in its journey of productization. Okay, with that said, why you should care about it? Not because there is a hype around it, not because you cannot open up a media and not see a reference to AI, but because of two potential outcomes that AI can deliver. The first outcome is the one that we all talk about, unimaginable amount of growth. There is no dearth of data out there to show what could be the potential of AI. Different material that has been put out by various consulting firms or analysts out there. Oh, it could add $15 trillion to the economy. Or I am from United States, healthcare is a big problem too for us, or the cost of healthcare is a big problem for us. It can reduce the cost of healthcare by 50%. We are here in Germany, manufacturing, it can increase the productivity of manufacturing by 3x. Any number of data is out there, unimaginable growth. But alongside that, the second outcome that it can or will deliver is indiscriminate amount of change. What kind of change? Well, there are people out there that say it will impact 25% of all jobs out there. That's like 300, 400 million jobs out there. There's data out there that says that, hey, it can actually automate 60% of all things that we do. Well, if you automate 60% of all things that we do, then what are we going to do, right? And then there are concerns around environment. How much, every time you call a ChatGPT and it goes into an LLM in the background, how much does it impact the environment? So indiscriminate amount of change. And this is the reason why each and every one of you must think about AI, not because it's a hype, but because it can drive unimaginable growth, but you also have to deal with indiscriminate amount of change. That's the reason to think about AI. So with that said, how should you think about it? Should we start from the tech? Should we talk about LLMs? Should we talk about agentic models? Should we talk about RAG architectures out there? I would like to propose that the best way to talk about AI is to not start from technology. The best way to talk about AI and build a strategy around AI is to talk about its impact first. I'm not going to stand here and tell you what's the best way to do that. I am going to stand here and tell you how we at Extreme Networks did that. When we started our journey on AI, we said we are going to give it a mantra. We are going to give it a tagline, a goal, an outcome, and that goal would be to reimagine every experience. And from now onwards, whenever we talk about AI, we will not say AI. We will talk about the experience. And we gave a framework around it. And that's the framework that I want to share with you, because that framework can actually help companies streamline their investment in AI. So how does typically this AI journey start in companies? Something like this. Either your boss calls you, or if you happen to be at a very senior position, then your board calls you, and they tell you, hey, we need an AI strategy. And what happens then? What happens is you go around, you put 4 or 5 people together, you give them a certain amount of money, and you tell them, like, okay, come back with an AI strategy. We need an AI strategy. What do they typically do? They go out, they talk to some of the big companies, they either find an agent or a co-pilot, and they build a chatbot. and then you put that chatbot either internal into your company or external into your product, and you said like, yay, we have an AI strategy. And then 3 months later, somebody asks you, so what is the return on investment? And then crickets. What is the biggest thing that we're seeing out there? We've spent $200 billion as a market on AI, and people still can't determine what is the return on investment. As I said, do not start with AI. So what is an alternative way? Your boss comes in, calls you, she tells you, go build me an AI strategy. You come back to your team and you talk to them and you say that, look, what are the experiences that we either have internal to the company or that we deliver to our customers? Now let's categorize these experiences into 3 categories. Experiences that totally suck and we would like to not put too much time and effort into it, so we would like to accelerate those experiences. Then there are experiences that are cumbersome, completely useless. We don't like to have them, so let's replace those experiences. And lastly, let's think of new things, new experiences that we might want to create for either our internal users or our customers out there. We call it the ARC framework. Start with your experiences in 3 categories: experiences that you want to accelerate, experiences that you want to replace, and new experiences that you want to create. And once you go through this exercise, that will tell you where to start with on AI. Pick an experience that you can accelerate. Let me give you an example. How did we do that? We talked to a lot of our customers. You probably have the same exact experience. A simple experience that a lot of people have. From our daily lives to our customer lives, you buy something, it breaks, what do? You call support. And once you call, first you sit on hold for about 60 minutes, that most atrocious music that typically plays when you're on hold. Then you get access to somebody out there in a call center that probably, maybe, or maybe not knows a lot about the product that you're calling about. They start by telling you, is it plugged in? And then they tell you to turn it on and off. And they go through a long list of it. You're getting frustrated around it. And this is an experience that we all have. We have done a lot of different things to streamline it, but this is a fundamental experience that can be accelerated. So how about, rather than trying something really fancy with AI, how about we pick this experience? And by the way, this is an experience that a lot of companies are going after. What AI can do for you is not replace that customer agent or support person that is talking to that user out there, but it can accelerate that whole process. For us, we implemented this for our customers. Some of them might actually be sitting in this room because there's a lot of our German customers out there. And it reduced that experience of the first time you see a problem to the time when you can resolve it from anywhere from 3 hours to 3 days down to about 5 minutes to 30 minutes. Did it create something new? No. Did we replace the process? No. Did we fire all of the customer support people? Our customers, they fired those people? No. If anything, the number of people that were hired in those jobs actually increased, but the productivity of that group went through the roof. This is an example of taking an existing experience and accelerating it. Is this an AI strategy? Maybe, maybe not. But this is a strategy of picking a pain point and accelerating through it, and now using AI behind the scene to see how you can accelerate that. So this is a great example of accelerating experiences. Let's take another example. An experience that doesn't need to be there. We're all in tech. Most of us are in tech. We produce some products or produce some services that we take out into the market. What is an experience that we all hate? Having to find information about a product or a service. What's that experience today? Well, that experience today is you can start with a website. You can go on the website, you can search. And out comes 1,800 different documents, depending on how big you are. And each one of those documents has a different piece of information in there, sometimes contradictory. You say, okay, website documents are not good enough. You go into your knowledge base. because your services and your engineering has been dealing with it for a long period of time, so they have thousands of knowledge cases in there. So you search amongst them, and you find some information, and it's very contradictory. Then you say, well, maybe I should go back to my technology teams, my product teams. They have labs. They have best practices. They must have a validated design for this somewhere. Then you go ask them, and after perhaps hours or days, you're left with fractured information that may or may not solve your problem. Now, this is an experience we all have. This is an experience that we have been trying to apply various different technologies to. If you notice, I am picking all the use cases that are not crazy brand new, but these are use cases that have existed for a period of time. We said like, oh, better search will save this problem. We said a centralized database where all my content lives will solve this problem. Maybe an LMS that I bought from this fancy new startup, that will solve my problem. But this problem, this experience has not been solved. So what do we need to do with this? Well, do we actually need this experience? Do we really need the experience of searching for information? How about we try to create an experience where we just simply replace this? And how do we do that? This was the first use case for ChatGPT, wasn't it? Instead of searching on the web, you go and you ask, and you simply get your answer. That's the example of replacing a use case. Today, in our scenario, you can actually go and find the information that you need from all of these sources that I talked about as fast as you can type it. Now, where would you apply it? You can apply it by training new operators. You can apply it when you move from one set of technologies to another set of technologies. If you are a reseller, you can apply it when you are upgrading or training your sellers and your operators on a new technology or a new technology from the same vendor. The use case or application of this experience is in pretty much everything that we do. A great example of replacing a use case. And then you come to creating new use cases. Now, what is the creating new use case? There are many, many different ones. I'm not going to go into the detail of that. This depends upon your business, your thought process, your imagination. For us, the simple idea of talk to your networks. We are a networking company. We provide secure connectivity no matter where you are. Our mantra is to connect people, application, devices, and data no matter they are. And once you create these complex networks, we said, who wants to get on a CLI, or who wants to even get on a web UI or a cloud application? How do I simply allow you to talk to your network and do everything that you want to do? New experience. I think the younger generation really loves it because they can WhatsApp your network at this point in time. Soon they will probably use TikTok to manage their networks. But that is a new experience that we are creating. Then you can take it beyond that. Not just creating it for yourself, but creating it with your ecosystem. If you come to our brand house, you will see the Kig Sauber car out there. Think about the pinnacle of engineering. I'll just give you one stat. It's 8 terabytes of data that flows from sensors to, the analysis system in the background per game weekend. Now, that's a problem statement to be solved. And the way to solve it is not just by throwing more and more networking, but by using AI to optimize that. Again, a lot more that we can talk through that. Similarly, creating new experiences doesn't mean just creating something today. But with our partners at Living Tomorrow, we are talking about, well, how do you hyper-personalized entire cities? Think about being a citizen of a city, and the entire city is hyper-optimized for you, one person, your experience. Now, this is something that will not happen tomorrow. This is not something that will happen in another 5 years either, but this is about creating experiences that are perhaps out there in the future. So in the end, in all of this conversation, at no point do you start with, should I use an LLM or an agentic model or a RAG architecture, or whose copilot do I start with? You start with experiences. And this is a great way to get started. Now, okay, you're like, all right, I've figured out, my use cases. I figured out my experiences. I have a list of it. But as a leader, you're still going to run into some pitfalls. And look, everybody says you have to experience through them yourself. I beg to differ. I believe that you can learn from other people's experiences. And here I'm openly sharing my experiences, pitfalls that we had as an organization so that you don't have to go through them. So what are some of the issues that we run into? As I point out, this is the first slide that you get as a leader. Your technology people come in, and there's 10,000 different technical terms in there. And by the way, by the time you read it, there are new terms that create it. By the time you read the detail of one model, there's a new 2 models that have been created. You just simply cannot keep pace with the speed of technology. So what do? You do not start with the technology. You start from the outcomes that you want as you go towards AI. I will leave you with this 4. As we started working on our way with the AI, these were the 4 things that became the most important to us. What are the guardrails? As a company, you have some policies, you have some compliance requirements on top of it. Does your AI or does your experience that you're changing work within the constraints of that? Again, this is not a new problem. Every technology has to go through that. We found that to be the most important thing that will determine whether your company will use AI or any other technology for that matter or not. So compliance and guardrails. Third one is trust and accuracy. You want your people to use it, but do they trust it? Is it accurate enough? How many of you go onto any of the social media and you see a lot of these different memes about like, oh, I asked the greatest model how many R's are there in strawberry and haha, it got it wrong. The point is, it will get a lot of things wrong because it is not 100% accurate, but you don't have to be 100% accurate to be able to use it for the right use case as long as the answers that it gets has a certain level of trust. That is the biggest problem around AI. And the last one is data. How much data does your AI system, or you for that matter, has access to, and is it in a shape and form in which you can use it? Before you get wrapped into any of the technical issues behind the scene, the latest and the greatest and the fastest, these are the 4 things that you need to determine. I always like to give this example. I can give you the best engine in the world for a car. Can you do anything about it? No. You still need a steering wheel. You still need brakes. You still need an indicator before you can actually drive it on the road. So don't start with the deep technology. Now, some of the other things that you're going to run into is all of these things. Well, in order to use AI, I need to overhaul my entire data fabric in my company. Wrong, you don't. In order to start AI, I need to change the culture of my company. Wrong, you won't and you can't. Because by the time you change the culture of your company, you will probably be retired. So how do you get started? These are the 3 lessons that we have learned ourselves and a lot of our customers who are advanced in this journey. And I want to share those 3 things with you. Number 1, do not start with the low-hanging fruit. Now, this is the one that is very counterintuitive. Most of the times we take new technology and we say, where should we start? Let's start in a place that doesn't really matter, where the risk is really low. Don't do that with AI. When you follow the framework, when you follow the ARC framework, pick a use case that matters. If you go and accelerate a use case that nobody gives a shit about, it's not going to matter. Because when you go back for money, they're going to ask, what is the ROI? Why should I give you the next $1 million to waste on this? Pick a use case that matters. Yes, it will be scary because it will be useful that all of your company is looking towards. And if you fail on this, the task or the results are pretty high, but start with a use case that matters because that's the only way to change the minds and the cultures of the company. Number 2, do not sit and wait for all the data to be there and clean and pretty. Because again, that will not happen for the next 50 years. So start with incremental data. Start with whatever you have to solve that one problem that you're starting with. And the last and the most important one is do not try to change the culture and the mind of the people in your organizations. Work with what is already there. The AI mechanism must adhere to your current cultural and operational needs, not the other way around. These three experiences are completely different to how you would introduce a new technology. And this is where 90% of the organizations out there will either be successful or will be a failure when it comes to their investment towards the AI. And now I know we have last 40 seconds here. Last, I want to address one question that we all have. And that question is, the way AI is going, will it take my job? Or will it take the job of somebody that is working for me? Or in some cases, will it take my boss's job as well? And my answer to this is, I don't know. But I will tell you one thing, and I will leave you with this thought. It is not going to be AI that will take your job, but it'll probably be some human who is using AI that will take your job. And I want you to think through this. The idea is not to bring AI and replace humans. Idea is not to make AI work like humans. The idea at this phase of time where we are is to make humans better, more competitive. So therefore, you cannot ignore it, but do not get carried away by the technology. In the end, AI is just like any other technology, and it must be applied to better the human experience. That has been our share. That has been our experience. This is what we're bringing out to the market. We have been pretty successful with this. I'll be happy to answer any questions offline on this. Come visit us, at our brand house. We have a lot of experiences to share with you. In the end, have fun. The best way to talk about AI is to not talk about AI. Good luck on your journey, and we are here to help. Thank you very much.